Hello, and welcome back to Out of the Ice. We need something that is joyous, funny, lighthearted, absurd, possibly. So I thought, what about a screwball comedy?
Yeah, because I was thinking back and, with the silly movies, I remember you said before that Airplane is one of your favorite movies. And
Such a good movie.
and it's one of those other movies where I've seen it play in the background, but I never actually watched it. And the only scene, the only line from it I basically know is, "And don't call me Shirley."
Well, this is the Don't Call Me Shirley edition.
Oh shit. Seriously. So yeah, we're watching this on DVD, so.
Yeah. This shit's too niche to get Blu-ray. It might have Blu-ray, but I don't have the Blu-ray. I bought the 2-movie set.
Is Airplane niche? Because even I've heard of it.
I mean, it's less niche than Kentucky Fried Movie, which is another thing that these guys did.
See, yeah, now that I never heard of.
Mm-hmm. But it's a little bit niche because again, it's a screwball comedy, and some people are just like, "That doesn't make sense." It's like, that's the fucking point. But yeah, so it's got Leslie Nielsen. It's got the guy who kind of looks like Leslie Nielsen but isn't.
What?
Yeah, I forget his name. But anyway, Airplane, delightful movie. Fucking crazy as all hell. I look forward to Kat saying exactly verbatim what her notes are for this. So, I mean, fuck it. Let's just jump right into it, guys. Let's just jump right in. Go find yourself a copy of the movie. DVD, Blu-ray, online, pirated. I don't give a fuck.
You don't have to tell us.
Yeah, fucking movies.
Keep that your own little secret.
Movie was made in 1980. You think nah. Half of the cast are dead and bones.
Ooh.
Alright, that was like over 30 years ago.
1980?
Yeah.
40 years.
Exactly. Over 30.
Okay, you're right.
So
don't mind us.
So yeah, we will be right back with Airplane. There's really nothing to discuss for the intro because it would give shit away. Go watch it. It's good.
Hey Larry, where's the forklift?
Forklift! It's over there with the baggage loader.
Airplane.
All right, and we're back after watching that movie. So, Kat, Airplane.
Airplane.
So what did you think of that movie?
All right, this is probably the part where I break Scott's heart. I wasn't crazy about it. I think the jokes moved. I think the jokes moved too quickly for me because it didn't get time to digest them, and I really realized that, because I'm like, what is not? Because as I was watching the movie, I'm like, okay, what is not helping me get it?
Oh man, this is a historic moment. We've got a complete difference of opinion. Holy shit.
A lot of the time you had to tell me what the joke is because I didn't get it.
Well, I think part of that too is something I should have realized is that like a lot of slapstick and like screwball comedy, it's references.
Yeah.
And you're oblivious as all hell.
Yeah.
Hence this podcast.
I even noted that I'm like, okay, here's Saturday Night Fever. I didn't get that reference. And with the jokes moving too quickly, I couldn't really get them. And I really realized that when it got to the vulture scene where they're, it's like, oh God, we're going to die basically.
Yeah.
And the vulture's just chilling there. I didn't get that at all until Scott explained that joke to me too. I
wasn't even intentionally explaining. I was just muttering to myself because I was like, vulture. You think they're gonna die.
So I don't know. It didn't really.
Man, so Airplane
me.
was too smart for Kat. That's what we're getting here. Interesting.
I'm just a slow thinker. I don't make connections very quickly.
Well, I have news for you, Kat. There's a word for that.
I'm not dumb. I'm just a slow thinker.
So that's interesting. Because I love this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've loved this movie for a long time.
Oh yeah, the smile on his face the whole time.
Just even just the acting, the way that, like, for the most part, they're all playing it very straight,
Yeah.
but saying ridiculous shit.
And like, don't get me wrong, I like deadpan humor, but it was just too much, I think, for me.
Very interesting. Okay. I think you're the first person I've ever seen who doesn't like the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna break my poor dad's heart. He loves this movie too.
Yeah. This is very historic. Because we both kind of came to an agreement about Pocahontas. Because I'm like, yeah, I love the animation and art. And you're like, yeah, the movie itself sucks though. And I'm like, yeah. And then Rudolph, I was like, I really like Rudolph. And you're like, yeah, but it's really problematic. And I'm like, you got a point there. This is the first time where I'm just like, no, you're wrong though. but you're wrong though. Very interesting. Okay. I'm excited for this. Okay. So, for those who didn't watch, why? But for those who didn't watch, it's about Ted Stryker, a former war pilot who has PTSD and a drinking problem. But the drinking problem, well, you'll see if you watch the movie. Well, I guess we're in spoilers now. The drinking problem is a joke because his drinking problem is that he misses his mouth.
And that, as much as anything else, led to my drinking problem.
He's trying to get his girlfriend Elaine to stay because she's kind of fed up with him wallowing in the past. And his girlfriend is a stewardess. So he has to get on a plane, which he hasn't done for a long time because of his PTSD. And from that point on, it's basically a parody of a lot of different airplane disaster movies. Specifically one, I don't remember what it's called, but there's one where it's like, there's a lot of shots just basically recreated point blank. Mm-hmm. But it's got Peter Graves, it's got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the basketball player, as the co-pilot Roger. It's got friggin' Leslie Nielsen as the doctor. And it's just a very screwball comedy. Like, even right from the beginning, there's these voices which you think are just background noise. Going like, the white zone is for loading and unloading. There is no stopping in a red zone. The red zone is for loading and unloading. There's no stopping in a white zone. And eventually they start fucking arguing. And the girl is like, don't think that I don't know what this is about. You want me to get an abortion. It's just like, whoa. And then there's, these people who keep trying to give flowers and then ask for donation, and people just keep treating them worse and worse and worse as the film goes on, to the point where then there's a person who's trying to lead Stryker in through the tower, who, when he encounters them, literally just starts beating them into the ground.
Excuse me, we'd like you to have this flower.
Donation for the Reverend Moon. Juice for Jesus.
Read about Jehovah's Witness?
Scientology.
They're and just a lot of sight gags and slapstick gags. Ted Stryker asks for a plane ticket and they go smoking or non-smoking. He says smoking, so literally they give him a ticket which is on fire. Mm-hmm. Or the captain is hailed over the PA speaker. It's like, oh, there's a call for you on the white phone. He picks up the red phone, and inside the red phone it goes,
no, the white phone.
Oh. And picks up the white phone.
There's also on the plane itself to put on the seatbelt in Spanish.
Yeah, in Spanish, which in reality is just put on the seatbelt. Just spelled all weird to make it look like at a glance it was a different language. And then you have the two people who, this is probably racist now, but the two jives talking guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's offensive. I have no idea to tell. But seems like it probably could be, but it is very funny because they're jive talking, it's like, oh, hey man, we got the smacking, all this stuff. But the subtitles are just like, well, you know what they say, early to bed, early to rise makes a man rich, healthy, and wise. So that's very funny. Then there's an old white lady who eventually speaks jive to try to be a translator. And there's a freaking heart at the Mayo Clinic that's beating in the petri dish and starts jumping around.
I'm just like, why is that heart jumping?
Because it's beating. It's a real strong heart. and just a lot of sight gags. And man, that's crazy that you didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, like, some stuff got me where Ted Stryker, like, was I can't remember the exact scene for this. I think it was with one of the guys at the airport terminal, like, handing out the flowers. He breaks the fourth wall for a second and is like, what a pisser.
Well, that's after he talks to Elaine.
Oh, that's after he talks to Elaine.
With the flowers. The dude tries to put the flower in his jacket, and he literally just, like, gets out of his jacket to get away from the guy.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Or you know, when the movie, like, understood its absurdity in, like, that scene, when Ted was, like, in that flashback when he met Elaine. I feel like the whole
time it's understanding its absurdity.
Not real. It's too. It was too deadpan. I don't know how else to explain this. Because
that is it understanding its absurdity, like, because it understanding its absurdity is just rolling with it. It's just like, this makes no sense. All right, let's go.
Or, like, I got a little laugh out of when Ted saw Elaine for the first time. He's like, oh, like, goes to the next guy, like, looks over at the guy. He's like, pinch me, and he just kind of awkwardly skirts away.
Yeah, and just, what the fuck? All right. Then in that same scene, like, fucking Ted throws off his hat, and then it comes back and hits the bartender.
And same thing with the jacket.
And then he throws off his jacket. It does the same sound, so it comes back and hits him.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And then there's the part where they're on the beach and they're just getting fucking pelted by waves.
Which is, yeah, real.
Like, that, I loved that. Man, that's so crazy. Odds or evens?
Even.
Yeah, no, you're wrong. It rolled a 3. She's wrong.
What? Why'd you have to roll a dice for that?
To see who was right. Oh. And it rolled a 3. That's an odd number. Oh. The dice said it. I don't know. I thought maybe that could be our thing if we reach a disagreement. One of us rolls a dice.
Well, I'm allowed to have my wrong opinion.
That is true. I'm just saying, in accordance to RN Jesus, he says you're wrong.
I spent most of this movie, I even noted, I'm like, I think my most common phrase I've used throughout this whole movie is "wah."
Yeah.
Because
I don't know. Maybe it is just a very big humor thing, because, like, I love when a movie makes you just go, what the fuck? So you said the movie didn't work as a whole, but what were some of the parts that you did really like?
Good question. Let me look through my notes. Let's see. A lot of me going, what are these references?
Yeah, because that is interesting. Because I never even thought about how much you kind of have to know pop culture to get this movie. That never even occurred to me.
Yeah, because you're just so...
Because, you know, I assume people know this shit.
I get, like, some of the things I caught right away, like the fake Spanish. Like, that was pretty funny. I kind of liked the...
There's actually an interesting point there. Mm-hmm. Until you pointed that out, I had never noticed that.
You're shitting me.
I always, like, it looked like a different language, so I never bothered to try reading it. Like, I know I paid attention to the sight gag with that in Airplane 2, because that one, it has pictures where it just, like, goes like, this is picture of a bull and then picture of shit. It's like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I just never thought of that, because I just assumed it was Spanish.
Even though I didn't know who the basketball player was, I did like the kid just kind of shitting on him.
Wait a minute, I know you. You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You play basketball for the Los Angeles Lakers.
I'm sorry, son, but you must have me confused with someone else. My name is Roger Murdoch. I'm the co-pilot.
And I'm like, ooh, this just reminds me of the baseball subreddits.
I've seen you play. My dad's got season tickets. I think you're the greatest, but my dad says you don't work hard enough on defense. And that you don't really try, except during the playoffs.
The hell I don't.
I'm working my ass off every night.
When when Ted was painting when he was laying in bed, and that
I
guy's
remember you were like, how did his leg do that? That's impossible. Meanwhile, I'm thinking contortionists exist.
and in a horrible, like, kind of funny way, when the other stewardess started singing the song on the guitar and
and
kept
the IV.
keep knocking the IV off the sick kid.
Oh, that's a great. Well, the kids' faces are great.
Yeah, definitely.
He just.
What in the other flashback when they were talking with the natives of the area, fucking Elaine is basically doing an MLM like container party with the ladies. I'm like, what the fuck?
Tupperware party.
Yeah.
Yep. And then freaking Ted Stryker tries to teach them basketball. And again, this is probably stereotypical.
Oh yeah, a little problematic.
Yeah, a little problematic, but it's a colored tribe who had never seen any outside of like any of the outside world. So he makes a crude basketball and a crude basketball hoop, shows them the basic premise but misses. All of a sudden they're dunking, like throwing 2 balls in at once, and they're all landing. I'm just like, whoa. Like, you know, the joke itself is problematic, but that's a lot of talent.
Yeah. I think like the really straightforward stuff like that, when I was able to catch it, I thought was kind of funny. But then like stuff where I had to think about like the vulture, or when at the end, towards the end of the movie, when they hit the when it was like talking about like the disco radio station, and then they hit the antenna. Disco.
You had to think about that?
Yes!
You had to think about a radio station that says where disco lives forever, and then crunch.
It didn't register.
Wow. Good Lord. Oh, that makes me worried for when we watch Blues Brothers.
Oh.
Because, like, again, that's a screwball comedy where, like, they do it very deadpan. Man, I never thought about it before, but I guess slapstick comedies like this are kind of a smart comedy in the way of, like, it doesn't give a shit if you don't get the joke. It's just going to assume you do or don't care.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. That makes me think about that in a new light. Huh.
Hey, my wrong opinion kind of made you think about things.
Well, it's obviously all opinions make you think about things, but yeah, that is kind of interesting because, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the word, but I guess it makes it more irreverent.
Irreverent.
Yeah, that's the word. Like, it doesn't care. Like, it's more irreverent. It doesn't give a shit if you get it or not. It's for the people who do. Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
I don't know. And I even noted, like, pretty early in the movie, I did say, I'm like, I feel like all of this nonsense would make more sense to me if I actually was able to sit down and watch it a few more times. Because generally, like, my favorite things aren't something that I've only have experienced once. Mm-hmm. It's me going back later and being like, oh, I caught this. Oh, I caught that. Oh, I like that detail.
Okay.
So maybe if I watched it a few more times, I might appreciate it a little more. But first time around,
Okay, so interesting. So I guess if we ever do come to a point where you've watched it a few more times and your opinion changes, we'll have to do an update.
Yeah, definitely.
Or if you watch it a few more times and your opinion doesn't change, we'll also have to do an update. Where you're just like a bitter old man. I hate it.
So, like, I'm not going to knock it off immediately because I've mentioned before that one of my favorite movies of all time is Holes, the novel adaptation.
See, and that's a one where we're basically the exact opposite, where I fucking hate that movie.
And I didn't really care for it the first time I watched it because I was a dumb kid that didn't understand, like, how all the plot points were tying together.
Yeah.
But after, it was playing on Disney Channel or whatnot, as I got a little bit older, sat down and watched it. I'm like, okay, I kind of get this a little more now. Then I sit down and watch it with my brother, and then we'd start, like, putting the pieces together while we were watching it. And after, like, 12 watches or so, it was, like, my favorite movie.
Yeah. Well, see, that's interesting. I wonder, like, is it that it's your favorite movie, or did you just indoctrinate yourself?
I just watched the movie because I liked it a lot.
Well, it's just, like, the thing is, like, I'm going to use a very extreme thing, but it'll get the point across. If the only book you were ever allowed to read and you read it all the time was Hitler's Mein Kampf, would it suddenly become your favorite book eventually because you just are like, well, it's the only book I read. Clearly it must be.
Maybe. I don't know.
Like, that's the thing. And obviously, yes, that is a huge over-exaggeration and hyperbole, but it was kind of meant to be for absurdism. Do people still sell that? If so, why?
There's got to be some sketchy online site to get it.
But,
yeah, I even noted towards the end of the movie, too. Like, I've noticed I've only been laughing at the jokes that actually kind of spelled themselves out for me.
Yeah. Interesting. So but yeah, like, and that's very interesting because my opinion has changed on the movie, too, over the years. But in a very different way where, like, I think I did like the more obvious jokes as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, I really liked Otto just because he was an inflatable co-pilot that was ridiculous. Like, that was just fucking stupid.
Yeah, I'll admit that was, like, I didn't find it super funny, but I did definitely I definitely was like, man, this is really dumb.
I also appreciated just that it was an inflatable thing that they made move.
Yeah.
Because, like, it was made in 1980. I think it had, like, a shoestring budget, and, you know, most of that budget was going for, like, the exteriors, plane shots, and helicopter shots.
Mm-hmm.
So, but, like, and, like, some of the effects, like the heart, I don't know if you noticed it, but I could notice the chicken wire.
Oh,
I noticed the string.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. You can actually see it even before the heart shows up. Like, before it pans down, you just see it, like, reflecting light.
Oh, okay.
But I never saw that with Otto. You know, I don't know how they were moving it. I don't know if they had somebody, like, in the inflatable suit or, you know, something like that. Well, I know one of them is that, like, the one where he winks. Like, he turns his head, and clearly that eye is the only thing that's not flat.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a different Otto inflatable thing. But a lot of them, it's just like, no, that seems solid. Like, wonder how many takes that took. Stuff like that. And then a lot of the cutaway jokes are good, too, in my opinion. Those were always very funny to me. Like, when it's like, no, they can't be off. Of course, they have the instruments. And then it just cuts to them with jazz instruments.
They could be miles off course. That's impossible. They're on instruments.
Yeah.
Or anything with fucking, what was his name? Jerry?
Jerry.
Or, you know, Leon's getting larger guy.
Shit.
You forgot about that already?
Yeah.
The plane is getting closer.
And Leon's getting larger.
You know? Jerry, more coffee? No thanks!
Johnny, what can you make out of this?
This? Well, I could make a cap, or a brooch, a pterodactyl.
Oh, where did you get that dress and those shoes and that coat? Gross. Awful.
Oh, yeah. Like, now that I'm thinking about coffee, I'm thinking about, like, the other one where I'm like, a reference that I didn't get was...
Foster's.
Yeah.
Or Folgers, rather.
Folgers, yeah.
Yeah.
Did not get that.
Jim never has another cup of coffee at home. Jim never violently vomits at home. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Folgers. It was either Folgers or Maxwell House. Hey everyone, Scott here in the editing bay. Apparently it was neither Maxwell House nor Folgers. I guess those are just the only two coffee brands that I know of that actually have commercials. It's apparently a coffee brand called Uban, or Uban. And I guess they're still around today. I don't remember ever seeing them in stores, though I don't like coffee, so I never really pay attention. But yeah, I'll play the original commercial, like a portion of that, and then I'll play the airplane one.
Oh, sure you can't stay for more coffee?
It's late, and Jim never has a second
You
cup.
know, I'd love another cup.
Jim never had seconds of my coffee. And I make pretty good coffee. But that night, we both discovered Uban.
Uban, special coffee, because it's made with special beans, 100% Colombian, for taste and aroma so deliciously rich.
Hey, how about seconds for me?
Uban, with richness worth a second cup.
All right, so that was the original commercial audio. Now here is the versions that are playing on that in Airplane.
Would either of you like another cup of coffee?
I will, but Jim won't.
I think I will have another cup of coffee.
Jim never has a second cup of coffee at home.
I should have had that second cup of coffee.
Jim never vomits at home.
Well, shit, I don't know where to go from this anymore. This is the first time we've ever had this.
Yeah, and I've explained my piece on this, that I just the slapstick went too quickly for me, so so much stuff went over my head because I'm kind of an oblivious idiot.
Yeah.
And I did mention my favorite scenes, but yeah, I don't know what else to tell you, dude. I just wasn't crazy about this movie. But I'm not gonna write it off completely. It made, like, again, like with Holes, maybe it just takes me a few more watches for me.
Mhm.
Maybe as I get older, maybe I'll start to appreciate the movie more. But as I am right now,
Now, okay, so here's some interesting point of topics, because we've watched the Muppet movie, we've watched some of the Muppet Show.
Mhm.
That's also pretty absurdist, but deadpan a lot of times.
Yeah.
And you seem to like that more. Did you just feel like it was at a more agreeable pace?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Interesting.
You get a little more time for the joke to kind of settle in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this does seem to be a production that is like more of a laugh a minute kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's going for as much as it can, which I appreciate, but I didn't. Yeah, I guess that's kind of eye-opening that can really fall flat with some people.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's why I have heard that this is kind of like a cult classic, a niche film.
Because I'm sure, because you said this is I'm probably like the first person you've encountered that doesn't like this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen other people who haven't seen the movie, but this is the only time I've ever seen someone who's watched the movie and didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very interesting.
Well, I mean, would you equate my opinions and just kind of how I am as a person as like your average moviegoer?
No.
No.
Because you don't normally choose to watch movies. So you wouldn't be the average moviegoer.
Well, when I go to a movie.
Well, again, because it's like I wouldn't call our friend Lindell an average moviegoer, because normally he would choose not to go to a movie. He would instead buy a video game or play a board game or, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think an average moviegoer is someone who really enjoys going to or watching movies and appreciating that film. So, but like a casual movie fan?
I guess that's I guess that's more what I'm going for.
I would guess, but that is an extremely broad spectrum.
Yeah.
Because
I'm okay. How about this? Somebody that goes in, watches a movie, and then leaves the theater, and outside of conversations with friends, don't really talk about the movie otherwise. They just see it, watch the movie for a few hours, maybe talk about it with friends at a later date, but that's about it.
So I would say a popcorn viewer.
Yeah, there you go.
Like the person who, and I hate to lump you in with this person because I don't think that you are this person, but it's the type of person that we're dealing with in that scenario. The person who could find enjoyment in Michael Bay's Transformers.
Yeah.
I have a friend Mason who's kind of like that too, where he just kind of turns his brain off and, enjoys the movie. And we actually used to have a lot of topics about stuff like this too, where I would bring up stuff like that didn't make sense or, that kind of annoyed me about the film. And he's like, man, I never even thought of that. I never even realized that was a possibility. I was too busy paying attention to the things were exploding. I'm like, but it didn't make sense that they were exploding. Yeah, but they exploded real good. I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, so I guess I could see you as that, but that also kind of confuses me because I would feel like laugh-a-minute movies are made for that, for people to turn their brain off and do that. But I guess it's still a laugh-a-minute movie, but I guess it's changed a little bit now because it was made so of its time that now you kind of have to know pop culture and know history to understand the jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because, I'm pretty sure that the jive talking joke was based on stuff like Shaft and Dolomite and like blaxploitation movies, where they would talk like that, and like really hype that jive talk up and like accentuate it because it's like, oh man, let's exploit black culture. We love to do that, us white Hollywood people. So it's kind of a joke on that, where, then it turns it on its head and there's an old white woman who speaks jive.
Mm-hmm.
And, the thing of like, oh, we're an airplane movie. So like, what type of airplane movies are there? Well, there's disaster movie. And then there's the one where a couple meets on an airplane. So they have like the two little kids dressed in business attire. And that like immediately goes nowhere because it's like, oh, would you like some coffee? Cream and sugar? No thanks, says the little girl. I take it black like my men. It's like, it just cuts to the kid going, what?
Oh, another little joke I did appreciate was them watching the disaster plane movie.
Yeah, and from what I remember from like when I watched like the commentary or an interview or something, that's how they got the idea for the movie. Is that they had gone on either a plane trip or multiple plane trips where they were showing a disaster plane movie as the in-flight movie. And they were like, well, what the fuck? And they were like, that's kind of absurd. And the commentary track is very fun too, because they talk about a lot of behind the scenes stuff like you would expect in a commentary, but the way they do it is very good. There's also I don't think they do it a lot anymore, but there's like, you know, this alternate version of the film that you can watch in the version that we have, where like it puts stuff like extra trivia stuff on the screen.
Okay.
And in that, sometimes it actually like points out flops and mistakes and flubs.
Oh, okay.
Like, for instance, that's how I first noticed the string. It literally has an arrow that points and follows it.
Oh, that's funny.
Which maybe at some point we should watch it with that, and maybe that'll help.
Yeah, help catch me up to speed.
Mm-hmm. Or just appreciate it in a different way. Because I think a large part of how I appreciate it is that, god damn, does that look like it was fun to make. You know, like, just think about that shit. Like, all of the absurd shit. Like, imagine if you were playing the guy at the Mayo Clinic and there's a heart just doinky, doinky, doinky. That's some Animaniac shit right there. But yeah, so I do wonder if when we watch the Blues Brothers movie, if that will come across better. Like, will Blues Brothers be more timeless than Airplane? According to general public, I would say yes.
And I think now that, because I didn't know Blues Brothers was super slapstick.
Well, it's from SNL.
Yeah, true. That's also true. I guess now that I kind of know what to expect going in, I may subvert my, fix my expectations to that.
Yeah.
So I know it's not my favorite genre of things, but I might at least know what I'm going into. So.
But didn't you say you used to watch one of the National Lampoon movies?
It was always on in the background.
But you never really watched it?
Never really watched it.
Okay. I was really not expecting to have this kind of different opinion like this for Airplane. I guess that kind of shows how blind you can become when you like have a favorite of something.
Yeah.
That is my worst nightmare, though.
Oh, really?
Of showing someone something and them not liking it.
I was just like, oh god, like probably about 2/3 through the movie, I'm just thinking like, oh god, I'm gonna break Scott's poor heart.
Well, because I don't know if you've noticed this, but anytime I show anybody anything that I like, I will look at their face to make sure that they're enjoying it.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were trying to fake me out or something, but like you were smiling.
I was smiling at some of the jokes after you explained them to me because, and I think a part of it too
Again, I wasn't intentionally explaining. I was just muttering.
Yeah, but like a part of it, like I was smiling too, is because I know I feed off the energy off of other people very easily. So
Vampire.
So seeing you enjoy something that much was making me kind of happy, even though it wasn't like my thing.
Yeah. But, like, that is kind of my thing, like, just my anxiety. I'm always like, oh, man, if I show somebody something and they don't like it or they think it's stupid, like, then they'll just think that I'm stupid or that I have bad opinions and they'll never want to hang out with me again.
Oh, no.
Like, and I'm sure people can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
But
you just want people to like the things you like.
Yeah. So I'm going to go just, like,
hey,
I'm just going to go sit in the shower in a fetal position.
Scott, hey, remember, you turned me around on Disney, so.
I didn't turn you around on Disney. Disneyland turned you around on Disney.
You helped. You were a big part of that.
I don't know. I think being there in the theme park did most of it. All I did was point out some trivia. I was just like, oh yeah, that's the Rivers of America. And you were like, wow. It's called the Rivers of America because it has water from a lot of different places and a lot of different rivers in America in it. Or at least it did at its inauguration. Mostly symbolic now. Wow. That's called the Mark Twain. After Mark Twain, the writer. Wow.
That's not my voice.
I can't. Wow. That's the Haunted Mansion. Oh, why is it called that? Because it's haunted. Wow.
God damn it, Scott.
I'm doing this because I can't remember the exact trivia I said. I think I pointed out a hidden Mickey. I think I may have brought up the smellitizers.
The smellitizers. What was it? The Morse code.
That was on the second day. You were already full in on that. And that was a gag because you hated that I brought it up every time we were there.
You had to go to the nearest stranger and say that.
Because I knew it would annoy you. But they were always very, genuinely intrigued. So you were always just festering there, unable to be like, ah. Because you knew you would just look like the asshole.
Am I the asshole? I'm ruining everyone's fun.
Fun ruiner over here. But yeah, so again, I guess some of my favorite parts, I agree on the heart. I really love the heart thing. I agree on the IV scene. That one's really good. I really like the ocean one just because at one point there's a catfish in the background. I'm like, but that's a freshwater fish. Hold on. What are you doing there? Also, get him back in the water. He's sad. The scene of the dog that's very clearly just trying to play with the guy, but they're adding a bunch of sounds to make him sound vicious.
Oh yeah, the
and
dog.
And then the dude steps through the mirror that was supposedly his reflection.
Yeah, I would not have caught that.
Then the part where they're doing the thing where it's a car, but it's clearly there's a blue or green screen behind it, and then they just start fucking with that.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty good. Anything with the Jerry guy. I like him. I'm trying to think of other stuff that I loved. A lot of it is very crass. I like the part where it to show the plane shaking, it has the jello, and then it pans over and there's boobs shaking.
Yeah.
That's really fun because you're just like, oh. And then it does that again because then everybody's panicking and just suddenly there's just a woman with no shirt on.
Yeah.
And no bra that just runs on screen, stops for a second, goes, ah, and then runs off screen.
And I'm just like,
you're just
what?
Oh, okay.
I guess there's just boobs.
Yeah. That was to stop it from being G-rated. No, it wasn't. It's because they wanted to see boobs. And I respect that mantra. I also like to see boobs. Or Ted Stryker's story, apparently to everyone else, was so boring that they kept killing themselves. There was an old lady who hanged herself. A fucking Japanese soldier in World War II Japanese soldier outfit who fucking seppuku'd himself. And then a fucking, I guess Arabian guy, maybe? Mm-hmm. Some form of Middle East. He had the turban with the gem and the feather in it. Mm-hmm. If that's a regional specific one. If not, I guess I didn't clarify anything. But he's there and he's pouring gasoline on himself, lights a match, and then it's like, oh wait, can you fly a plane? And Ted's like, yes, I can. Okay, we need you in the cockpit. And he goes, oh, thank God. But it's still kind of lit. He puts it on his pants and then Leslie Nielsen's parts. Leslie Nielsen's parts are just great as the doctor.
I will admit, the doctor was probably my favorite character.
I just want to let you know, good luck. We're all counting on you. They already landed the plane, Doc. Yeah, I don't know. I just find that movie very fun. And it's even kind of hard to describe why I like it so much. Yes, it is something from when I was younger. Sure. Yes, I have watched it a lot. But I also just I just appreciate it. You know, I just appreciate the filmmaking of it. I appreciate that you can tell that, you know, they probably didn't have a lot of budget, but they used every penny that they had wisely. I appreciate the cast who do it very well. Oh, another part where it's like, yeah, I mean, I flew single engine planes, but like this has 4 engines. It's a completely different type of flying. And then they just, instead of encouraging him, they just go, it's a completely different type of flying. Yeah, I just really like the movie. It just is a movie I'm like, I just appreciate this film. I just like it. That, and it's about airplanes, and we see an airport, and it's like a late 70s airport, because this was right in 1980, meaning they were filming in the 70s. But like it's a very 70s airport, and I'm not gonna lie, some of the airports that I went to when I was a very little kid had not been refurbished since then at that time. So it's very familiar to me.
Aw.
Like since then, those airports have been renovated. Like the one here in Springfield.
Yeah.
That one still looked very similar for a long time. And even now, like it doesn't look all that modern, because it's like, you know, I think for the most part it's one story, and it's like a pretty small airport, because we're not a huge city. But it's been renovated. It's more modern now. But I remember when I was 3, I remember coming back from the first time I went to Disney World, and we were all in like t-shirts and shorts and stuff, and it must have been winter, like or something, but I don't remember there being any Christmas decorations at the park. So it was after Christmas time, but it was still winter, right? Might have even been like March or April, right? Where it's technically getting into spring, but it could still just as easily be cold as fuck here.
Yes.
And we were all decked out in like, you know, summer style clothing, and we get outside only to discover that it's a blizzard out. So we're having to run to our car, freezing cold.
Oh no.
And, like, we're just all shivering as we're waiting for the car to heat up.
Oh.
That was pretty fun. I don't remember a lot of that trip. I remember I was scared to go on almost any ride, and I remember that there's a thing where I'm pretty sure my memory is wrong on this, or memory is mixing with dreams that I had on the trip. But I swear to God, one of the times that I went on the Haunted Mansion on that trip, Leota wasn't in the crystal ball. She had like a full body animatronic.
Huh.
And then like it disappeared, and then she was in the crystal ball. Like it was like an effect where it like faded away and it was in the crystal ball.
Have you looked into that?
I have, and there's nothing on it.
Yeah, maybe.
Meaning it must have been a dream of me like processing it. Because I also remember a thing where it's like the T-Rex encounter at the Jurassic Park ride at Universal, because we went there too, but it was different. Like he comes out of a waterfall, and then there's a drop, and it was different for some. Oh, I remember what was different. In the dream, it was a mixing of Splash Mountain and Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay.
So it was the lift hill of Splash Mountain and then T-Rex.
Ah.
It's not a bad idea, actually. just put a T-Rex in Splash Mountain. It'll fix everything.
You know what? Yeah.
Nobody will even bother about worrying about the Song of the South thing if there's a T-Rex.
No. Everyone's gonna be so focused. Like, holy shit.
There's a T-Rex.
Holy shit, dinosaur.
Don't do that, Disney. Just do the Princess and the Frog thing. It's a good idea. It's not as good as my idea, which was to replace it and bring back Country Bears for it, but you know, that's fine. Actually, it probably is better. That'd be way better for anyone that's not me. Because for some reason, I still kind of like the Country Bears, even though I know that they are awful.
Oof.
Show is so boring. So boring. But I like it. It's a good place to nap. But yeah, so that's, man, first time we've had completely split decision. I wish we had a guest on to be a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
But we don't. I guess you guys.
You will have to decide. You'll have to decide. You'll have to decide. You'll have to decide.
Go to our Twitter. Mutagen works at Twitter and on Instagram now.
I'm Cat27.
Mm-hmm. And then we have Out of the Ice Pod 1 as our general one. So if you listen to this and you have an opinion, either say, I agree with Kat, or I agree with Scott, or I agree with neither of you, or I disagree with both of you, or banana, or something, just anything like that. Let your opinion be known, and we will see who is truly in the right. We know what the dice said. We know what we think.
But hey, remember, dice rolls hate me.
They do hate you. But, I'm just saying, dice are kind of like dogs. They don't hate good people.
Oh, well then. You piece of shit.
Anyway, so yeah, I guess if you want to help us out, settle this dispute, and if we get a good enough amount of comments on any of those locations, or if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to comment in the comments section. Our YouTube is Kingdom of Geekalon, if you would rather comment there. Mm-hmm. We also have other videos there. But yeah, so just comment away and see, do you like Airplane? Do you not like Airplane? Which of us do you agree with? What are your reasons for that, if you want to give them? And let us know. We can see who's right. We can see who is objectively right. Of course, subjectively, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but we need to know objectively.
Is Airplane...
Objectively, by a court of our own, peers, by the jury, by majority rule, who is objectively right?
Yeah.
Who is objectively right about the subjective topic about a movie? And I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Kind of a shorter episode today, but it's not like it's an incredibly complex narrative of a movie.
Yeah.
Plane try not crash.
You can pretty much just put you can put the jokes in any order, almost, outside of the beginning airport terminal jokes and the end. You can pretty much place the jokes anywhere and it makes sense.
Yeah, the narrative is a device to deliver the jokes.
Basically, yeah.
And I like it for that. Didn't click for you. Mm-hmm. We'll, see how the future holds on that. And when it comes to future slapstick laugh-a-minute comedies, ones that are either made, before Airplane, after Airplane, around the same time, I guess this will be the measuring stick.
All right.
Does it work better for Cat than Airplane?
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Guess that's it for us, everybody.
All right. I'm Kat.
I'm Scott, and we are Out of the Ice.
Have a good night, guys. I'm not dumb. I'm just a slow thinker.
That's a very funny sentence. We need to remember that for his t-shirt.